Good evening, everyone. Tonight I wanted to take a look at Soothe and MSpectrialDynamics. And the reason for this is because um, I'm not comparing them to see which one is better. This is a situation where I own one of them. I own MSpectrialDynamics, and I'm thinking about getting Soothe. So in a case like this, especially with plugins that are a bit more that are more on the expensive end of the scale, um, what I like to do is try to avoid redundancy, just so I can save some money and kind of keep my audio tool collection as small as possible, which, as we all know, is virtually impossible. So um, what I would normally do is what I'm going to do in this live stream, which will be up as a video later, which is to compare these two, but again, not to see which one is better than the other, but to see how similar they are. And really, that's just a judgment call. I'll just have to see how similar they sound. I don't expect them to be that similar, but they do similar things. If you don't know what they do, they're essentially spectral dynamics processors. So what that means is that the audio signal is broken down into very narrow bands, and then each of those bands is essentially analyzed and processed. And in both of these cases, actually, I think the Melda one. This isn't the case for the Melda one, but the way they're both going to be set is that they will attenuate these narrowband notches. They will attenuate them when the signal is over a threshold. That's essentially how MSpectrialDynamics works. So there's a threshold here that spans across the frequency spectrum in the plugin. And this is the threshold by which the dynamics processor, which is over here, which is essentially a compressor, but it can also be used as an expander. And there's actually two of them, and there's a gate, but those are turned off. So MSpectrialDynamics is like this crazy, versatile, mad scientist kind of spectral dynamics processor. Soothe is not only has that effect on the audio, I guess you could say, but it also, in terms of its user interface, is very soothing compared to MSpectrialDynamics. Not that MSpectrialDynamics is bad by any means. It's just that it is designed to be a very sophisticated and versatile plugin with a lot of different options, whereas Soothe is designed essentially around kind of one thing. And you see there's one big knob and a graph and some little controls, and it has a very nice look to it. So what Soothe does is it's essentially looking for resonances. So that would be very peaky, narrow bands of frequency, and it looks for those. So like resonances in sound, and it looks for those, and then it attenuates them by the amount that you set with the depth knob. And you can control how selective those notches are, and also how sharp they are. And then you can also apply a curve, and you can do this with MSpectrialDynamics as well. You can apply a curve to both of them. In the case of Spectral Dynamics, the curve is the threshold, so you can have a higher or lower threshold across the frequency band. You basically can draw it as a curve. I think I can do that here because I have the pen. So if I were to, do this, then this would be a higher threshold than this. So it would affect the frequencies sooner or later in terms of amplitude. In the case of Soothe, its bands represent how much in that given band the soothe effect is happening. Is it happening? Is it uh, happening over what is set by the depth or under what is set by the depth? So this way you can kind of tune specific frequency bands to have more or less depth. So both very, very useful plugins, and I have played around with them. So I have this set up here. I have some sources over here. So I have Wolfgang Palm's new synth Infinite Pro with some really with a sound that really has a lot of crazy frequencies that fly around. I have basically a drum kit. This is essentially toms. This is like a tom roll thing that's just ongoing, and so I thought we would see what that sounds like on that. I have Microtonic, which is a cool electronic drum, but it also has a lot of energy in it, and not so much resonances, but frequencies that are a little bit out of control. And I also have a little arpeggio percussion-y thing using Rob Papin's Sub Bass 2. So we'll run these things. What I would normally do is I would run these things through the two plugins, and then I would compare them and see how close they are and see what they do, what they sound like compared to each other, and what the level of redundancy is, and if ultimately it would be worth, in my case, buying Soothe or not. So like I said, it's not about which one sounds better, because they do different things, but they also do similar things. So I'm just interested to see how similar they are. The proof is in the pudding. You just got to try it. So I have these sources all going into these two buses. This bus here has, bus 1 has Soothe on it, and bus 2 has MSpectrialDynamics. And then what I use for A/B testing is I have used Nugent Audio's Mastercheck, which is this meter here. And this is a loudness meter, but it also has a nice feature where you can put a Nugent plugin called Nugent Send on another track, on another rail, and it will route its audio into this. So the send is on Soothe. So whatever the source is that I'm playing, it'll go through both Soothe and MSpectrialDynamics. When it goes through Soothe, it'll go into Nugent Send, and that's it. This is set to no output, so that's where it goes. And that sends the stream from Soothe into this plugin, which is on the rail with MSpectrialDynamics. And what this does is I can switch now between the two by doing this, but also because this is a loudness plugin, I can hit this circular thing and it will match the loudness of the two, so that when I switch back and forth, they're matched in loudness, and so I'm eliminating any loudness bias. So it's very useful. And then that goes out to a limiter, and then into the isolate control pad, and I'll use the dim to dim the output, so I can like do voiceovers and stuff. I have to do it manually because of the way I have this set up. So, and you'll see this meter here. This meter is actually on the audio output going into Wirecast, which is doing the live streaming. So this way I can just monitor, just to make sure that the tool that I'm using to mix all the audio together and send it out, whatever is working. So this will just be kind of doing this right now. It's just got my voice on it. Okay, so let's listen to the sources. So I'll just go through the sources. Here, they're already playing. So I have to manually mute and solo them. So here we go. So there's lots of crazy frequencies in that, so I thought it'd be interesting to use that with Soothe with the two tools. Okay. Here's BFD. It's pretty low. Oh yeah, that's really clipping. Didn't see that down here. Okay. Sorry, let me get the level right on this. I wasn't paying attention. Okay, that's good enough. Yeah, that's good enough. So you get a little bit of a clip, whatever. Adds to the vibe. Here's microtonic. Whoop. Okay, there's microtonic, and then here's the sub boom bass thing. Oh. Right. Okay, so I had the dim on. Sorry, guys. Okay, so there you go. I had to go through them again because I realized I had the dim off, and so the audio was really low. Oh, hey, there's so much to do. Keep track of here. Okay, so I'm just going to start with the Infinite Pro, and I'm not going to talk so much. I'm just going to bring the level up, and then I'll run it through these processors, and I'll just compare back and forth. So when you see this speaker lit, that means you're listening to Soothe, and when it's not lit, it means you're listening to MSpectrialDynamics. This button here is where I match the loudness between them. All right, so I'm going to bring the level up now. There is something wrong. There's some level problem. I do not know what. Something is acting very strange. Just give me a minute here. Oh, everything's okay there. Yeah, I'm not sure what... Right, that's on dim. Okay, let me bring it back up again. I'm not sure. Okay, I think I know what happened. Yeah. There must be a bug Right? This is the shit we have to deal with when we deal with digital audio. I think there's a bug in the Nugent thing. Every once in a while, it seems to lose the connection, and I have to instantiate them. So, this is the kind of stuff that we have to deal with. And it's unfortunate that we do. And so, you're doing a live stream, you're going to run into the same kind of problems that you're going to run into when you're working not on a live stream. So I apologize, but in a sense, there's nothing I can do about it. Let's see if we got the audio here. Seems like it. Okay. See? It had lost its brains. Here, we'll just put this on Delta. Turn it up a bit. Okay. And then, see? So I'll take the dim off. So that's Soothe. And that's MSpectrialDynamics, which is just essentially passing through. Okay. All right. So let's get to it. Before we get to it, there's actually something I wanted to show you. I noticed with Soothe that there's a change in the stereo image. So I'm going to put the Tom's BFD Tom's thing on and listen to the stereo image of it. And I have oversampling off and I have resolution on normal. And I'm going to turn oversampling onto 2x and then 4x and turn up the resolution and hear the effect that it has on the stereo image. And I'll also be comparing it to the original signal, which is essentially just passing through Spectral Dynamics right now. I could put Spectral Dynamics on bypass there. Okay. So, all right. So just check this out. Take the dim off. Okay, now I'm going to play with, you're listening to Soothe, so now I'm going to play with the oversample and resolution. So much for a 12-core 3 gigahertz Xeon Mac Pro. So there's clearly more fidelity with more oversampling, but it has an interesting effect, I think, on the stereo image and on the depth of the sound and also on the transients. Anyway, I'm going to leave it on 4x and high, and then we'll get to doing our comparison. So let's switch back to the synth, take it off dim, and here we go. Select Spectral Dynamics. It's on bypass, kids. Okay, one thing I'm hearing is because because Soothe's processing doesn't go below about 200 hertz, but Spectral Dynamics does. There's more of a bottom end with Soothe. So I suppose I could even that out by increasing the threshold in the bottom end with Spectral Dynamics. Can try that. Let's give it a shot. So that's that's pretty similar what it's doing there. It's kind of a very complex sound, so it's kind of hard to hear specific things that they're doing, but the overall texture change and tonal change is pretty similar. But they are different. Okay, well, let's move on to BFD with the toms. Now, just a reminder, two things. One, this isn't a comparison about which one's better or which one's worse. I'm just exploring the effect that they have. So that's why I'm over-exaggerating the use of them, because I just want to hear what they do, and I just want to be able to compare them. And there's actually three things. The second thing is I know that I've got clipping down there. It's not happening a lot. It only happens when the signal goes crazy, and I don't feel like fixing it. So most of the time there isn't going to be any clipping, but if you want to watch down there, you can in case there is some clipping. I'm aware of it. Thanks. And then the other thing is just remember that when that yellow speaker is lit, you're listening to Soothe, and when it's not lit, you're listening to Spectral Dynamics. All right, back to the toms. So they're not exactly the same. They're similar, but they're not exactly the same. So in a situation like this, one thing I'll look at is I'll listen to it, and it's totally subjective, but I'll listen to, okay, so they've got kind of a similar thing going on, but they are different. So where are they, in what way are they different? And is the way that they're different, is that going to be of any use? So let's take a listen and think of it in those terms. See, to me, the difference between those two is so minimal that I don't really hear, like, they are different, but I'm not really hearing anything of value in the difference, is what I'm trying to get at. Okay, so Soothe has a brighter, fluffier kind of sound in there. Let's try a more subtle approach, but keeping the same. I'm listening for some cutting around the toms to eliminate, I guess, some of the frequencies between the toms interfering with each other. So trying to carve that out to make the toms more distinct. Okay, well they're different. They do slightly different things with the toms anyway. Let's move on to the drum machine. Crying out loud. Yeah, so there's this thing I have a problem with Logic. Where I use a trackpad, and sometimes when I just slide my finger along, for some reason it does like a click drag and then it selects a bunch of stuff. It's really annoying. So sorry about that. Luckily I had the dim on. Christ. Okay. Let's bring this back up. Let's let's try this setting. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to level these guys out, and I'll bring up the dim, and then we'll play with this setting. See what happens. Okay, I know you're yelling at me again because I'm using way too much of both these processors, but I'm just going by my ear. I'm not trying to, like, keep them within the same realm of what they are. I really want to pump these processors so I can really hear what they're doing and just kind of understand a little bit better about what they're doing. So I'm fully aware that I'm overusing them, but I'm intending to so that I can hear them. Okay, so I think they're somewhat similar, but they're different. They're not the same, but they're similar. I think they're similar. They're not the same, and that makes it more difficult to decide what to do. I think, so in this application, using Soothe more subtly and just kind of tuning it in there to try to kind of carve away some of the junk around the individual drums works pretty well. It sounds very nice. MSpectrialDynamics, I don't know, I don't think it sounds as nice. Let's just listen. Yeah, they're different. With this, they're different. I find MSpectrialDynamics to be heavier and darker and deeper, and I find Soothe to be more even and controlled and kind of warmer sounding. So one approach is that I might take, although I might not take it here, but to try and see if I can get the sound of Soothe as close as I can on MSpectrialDynamics. And the reason is because I own MSpectrialDynamics. So if I can replicate what Soothe does, then that makes it redundant. So I don't think I'll be able to in this case. It'll require a fair amount of tweaking. At first, I got to figure out what the hell is what is different between them. Aha. I added more release on MSpectrialDynamics to try to mimic the kind of compressed sound that I was getting out of Soothe, and now they're pretty close. So let me try it on. Let's try it on BFD. Wow. Those are unbelievably close. Okay. So there's some difference there, but it's interesting. It's interesting. Yeah, I think Soothe is just on the edge for me of being redundant with MSpectrialDynamics. I mean, I have to take into account the price, right? It's not that far enough removed, and in fact, I'd even save this as a Soothe setting. I'm not saying it's exactly the same. I'm not saying that it's very close. I'm saying that the similarities overlap too much for me to justify buying Soothe, unfortunately. I'm fine with what I've heard. I'm fine with using MSpectrialDynamics and what is now going to become a Soothe preset. One thing we can try is I have some acoustic. Let me turn these tracks off. I have some acoustic tracks here. I have an acoustic guitar. So let's play with the acoustic guitar, see what happens. Well, they both clean up the guitar nicely, and they're very close. So, okay, and let's just move on to vocals, since I have vocals here.
Well, some people have left, but they're never quite gone. Hello, 50. And it's no use to protest. The party goes on. Hello, 50. So forget about your back. Get that finger out your ass. Just take your time till your time takes you.
This is a song by my friend Paul. I think this is an amazing song. He's a folk, mostly like folk rock, electro folk, progressive folk artist. And this is a song about reaching 50. So it might not make sense to you if you're under 50. But trust me, it'll prepare you for your 50s.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. The finger up my ass. Hello, 50. Got hair where it shouldn't be, and memories that couldn't be. Hello, 50. But I'll remember you well. And Albert and Michelle, you're two of the sweetest people I know.
I think it's doing a much nicer job. Soothe is doing a much nicer job on vocals. They're just more natural. There's like a noise reduction. There's a lot of noise on the vocal track, but there's noise reduction happening, it sounds like.
Never get old, never get old. Well, the passage of time, it's a curious thing. Hello, 50. It plays tricks on the mind and makes a fool sing. Hello, 50. So what if you're fools? I'll be one with you. Throw your hands up. We're 50. We've got nothing but time.
So when it comes to vocals, I think that Soothe really is a standout. So then the question, so I'm just sharing with you my thought process. So I don't really use a lot of vocals. I don't do a lot of vocal work. I mostly do produce my own music. And occasionally I'll do some audio work for like my friend here. So is it worth spending that kind of money on Soothe? And for me, it's not. So although it's doing a really nice thing here with vocals, if I were doing vocals more, or if I had a paid gig where I was doing some vocals, then yeah, I might buy Soothe just to get that extra bit of quality out of it. So there you go. There's here, we'll put it on some music.
Just take your time till your time.
Why is this not? There we go. Sorry, I just wanted to get some. All I wanted was music in the background. That's all I want. Okay. Why did it just stop? Oh, man. See, it's this drag thing. There we go. I just wanted to sum up, and I wanted to have some music in the background. That's all. So, I'd say for me that, although I really like Soothe, and I think it's slightly more different than Spectral Dynamics, such that it might be useful. I have to take the price into account, and for me, it's just not worth it. But I think that if I were to do more vocal work, which I may do, that that purchasing Soothe might be good. Or the other thing is if I'm in a situation where I have some extra money and I want to, buy a cool new audio tool, then yeah, Soothe would also be a contender, because I think it does add more to the palette that Spectral Dynamic brings to the table, but just not enough more to make me jump on it or to make it a no-brainer. So anyway, I hope you found that useful. I just wanted to bring you in on my process for making plugin decisions, and in this case, looking at two plugins that I thought might be similar, and turned out, in my opinion, to be similar enough that for me right now it's not worth getting Soothe. I just don't want to annoy anybody. I do think Soothe is a great plugin, but and I probably will end up with it in the future. It's just I'm not going to jump on it right immediately. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed that, and if you found it useful, that's great. You can consider giving me a thumbs up if you'd like, and to subscribe. I want to grow the channel. What I want to do is more of these live streams, just so that you can see what I'm doing in real time. It's not edited, and I know that they can go on for a long time, but that's the nature of the work that we do when we're working in audio. Time flies when you're having fun. We get in the groove, and before you know it, hours have passed. So these live streams are going to be long. Let me know in the comments what you think of that. If you just find them just too long to get through, or what. I really want to avoid kind of pre-recording and having to do editing. I really just want to jump right in and have you here watching me while I'm live doing essentially a session, because what I did tonight, it wouldn't have taken me any shorter period of time. This is what I would have done in order to evaluate these two plugins. So so your feedback would be greatly appreciated. Your subscription would be greatly appreciated. And spread the word if you like it, and if you didn't like it, then let me know in the comments, and I'll try to make things better. Thanks a lot.